Welcome to Leadership Energetics. Okay, so I've been going through a lot of things, but I've healed from a breakup and went for a car accident, and now I'm like having some personal stuff which I will not share, that I'm moving through and coming out on the other side. But the reason I'm sharing that to begin with in the video is because I'm going to talk to you about actually something phenomenal, which is your emotions shouldn't be holding you back from showing up, from being consistent, and it shouldn't be the same reason for your procrastination, but it so often is with so many leaders. It really is. And that's because a lot of leaders are trying to almost become who they think they should be, like this mask, instead of realizing their authenticity for leadership is so enough. I'm just trying to get the light to work here. One sec. Fab, all fixed. So your authenticity and you showing up with your emotions and how you feel in your soul and your just expression without feeling like you have to force in order to be respected, to be heard, to get, the result that you want. That is the beauty in the magic. When you realize that your leadership isn't something that's reliant on you being high stage and high mood and not consistently positive all the time. Your leadership actually comes from your center, your balance, and your skills. And those are all built by showing up and showing up and showing up and being consistent and holding faith. Not only faith on yourself, faith on the outcome of your vision, and also faith on the people around you. And I think that faith on the people around you can be hard sometimes because you can't control people's choices, but the more that you build the faith in these people by continuously showing up for the connection and relationships, and also by having good faith in yourself, and also I think when faith is like believing and trusting that things will happen in a positive outcome regardless of having evidence or not. So being able to build that skill is so powerful, because then you start showing up like in law of assumption ways where you're expecting something positive to happen and you start to act in self-fulfilling ways. But I also think before I go in a tangent, I really want to stay focused on one key point this whole video. And that is you being able to lead without force. I do believe is the biggest thing ever, because I think it's so easy, and that's kind of like the stereotype, leaders are just like constantly like very strong and physically and very much forceful and directive and dictation. I don't think it's dictation, it's dictation. I don't think that's the right word. Dictation. I can imagine one of you are like, that's the word she's trying to say, but dictatorship, dictating. I'm gonna stop there before I go on for a very long time. But basically somebody who's dictating, right? But it's not about that. You do require to have a level of ability to do so. It's a very important skill, and there's a lot of benefits that come from being able to do those things. But I think it's really important with the context, the tone, and also the way that you approach in order to be able to create that level of delegation and assertiveness. I think those are benefits and skills, but you should never just show up in one way and never show up in any other way, because I would lack flexibility. And because we live in an unpredictable, unknown world, the better you are adapting, the more likelihood your survival is, and your survival is linked to your sustainability of your leadership style, because leadership is about survival through human connection, and to survive through human connection, it's important to stay connected. I think it's connection over competition, especially when you're in leadership, because when you are in a leadership position, you don't want to be constantly coming from a place of competition, because when you are doing that, you are going to be seeing people on another side, opposition and enemies. And I think it's not that you want to experience those, it's just that if you feed into it, it will grow. And so it's just, don't feed into that. Feed your focus and your attention instead on the fact that have no enemies. They say that it's you and you. It's not you versus you. It's not you versus them. It's you and you. This experience is you being mirrored back to you through different expressions of yourself. Like, it basically is the consciousness of God expressing itself. And I think that's such a beautiful moment and realization to come back to. And when I mean, whether you're religious or you're into philosophy or enlightenment, I think it's very important to always have some form of like higher faith, something that grounds you into higher morals and moving from high value. Because when you do that, what essentially you're doing is you're creating such powerful impact in your life, because the impact you have on people is phenomenal when you start to move with high values. And high values is just being able to make your decisions based on your values, not solely on your emotions, and that is such a big important thing to do. But ultimately, I think, you know, you're going to have emotions. Some days you're going to be more energized, more motivated, more open, and more confident. And I think even when you're not feeling those things, if you keep showing up and you keep doing the things, I think that's where you start to build this unshakable, silent, quiet power. I know I was showing up very consistent before my accident, and I'm coming back and building that consistency and momentum again. But just before the car accident, showing up consistently and just doing these videos, and it was very healing and eye-opening, because I wasn't really doing something because I was trying to make it look a certain way or sound a certain way. I was just in my beingness and trusting that the expression and how I'm expressing is enough. I wasn't constantly like performing. I was simply allowing myself to know that I don't need to perform because people see me. Just like you see people so deeply, we are all seeing each other very deeply. So it's actually such a service to each other to be in authenticity, because it's kind of like it creates clarity, it creates healing, it creates connection, and also it's the thing that's going to create biggest changes. Because when you're in a leadership position, you're shifting the people so they can become the versions of themselves, so that they can create and achieve their goals and the goals of the team or the goals you have together. And I also think leadership is about leading people into their potential, and to do that you need to be connected with them. People only listen truly. I mean, we listen to people like maybe because it's the logical thing to do or whatever, but then as our spirit or our soul might be holding back. And that's what I'm trying to say. If you really want deep influence and actually want to change people and lead people truly, it's not about just being able to shift things and create like superficial changes. It's about actually shifting their spirit, their soul, their inner self. And then when you do that, you're able to actually shift somebody's spirit. Like, that's when you're making phenomenal, like monumental, like you're moving mountains when you do that, because you're changing their paradigm, you're changing their perspective, their view of the world, and therefore their reality and their universe. It's beautiful stuff, but it's a very big, powerful thing. So that's why I think leadership is a huge ability to respond. I think the biggest thing when I think of leadership, I think it's responsibility, the ability to respond. And the ability to respond is having a very much in control of your emotions, in control of being able to have your center and your balance and always coming back to that. Okay, so beautiful stuff. And basically, essentially, the point of this message is just keep showing up whatever way you're feeling, because consistency and improvement and mastery comes when you have the reps, not when you have the desire to have the shift. You need the desire, but then you need to apply it into the reps. And I think, for example, the biggest monumental shift is meditating every day. And I've had some incredible epiphanies and insights and transformations in my life. Did I feel like my meditations, I always want to show up, or they're always, things that I feel creates the shifts that's so deep all the time? No, sometimes it's different than other days. But the fact that I keep showing up every day for years, I am quite good at what I do. And it's given me the ability to digest, to reflect, to think things so deeply in such a positive way that now I'm able to communicate and articulate myself quite well. So that all comes connected to leadership. So having something that you're committed to is powerful. Alright, so I'm going to finish the video here. Thank you for watching. Like the video, comment, subscribe. Let's stay in contact, let's stay in touch, because I want to connect with you. I will see you in my next video.